Hi, welcome. Gavin Gray Goes Black. So another week, another project. What project do we have this week? We have this GLC. This GLC is brand new. It's done 801 kilometers. It's never been washed by its owner. The vehicle has come for a paint protection because this is a black color, but not only is it black, it is not metallic. So what I'll be doing, I will go ahead and wash the car. I'm not really going to film it because that's seen and reseen. So what I'll do, I'll wash the car, and then after that we'll examine the paintwork together, and then I will take you through what polishes I'll be using versus the pads, because I do know that they will need a slight paint correction. So what can I say? Let's get to it. Then, so we've completely washed, decontaminated, and I even at the same time I have polished and corrected all the defects out of this car. Start from the wheels. So I took the P&S brake buster. Basically, why did I go for this option is because the rims themselves were not heavily marked. Once I got those wheels out of the way, I then started to look at how I was going to tackle the bodywork. So I went for the traditional, well, I went for the snow foam from Carbon Collective. So this is the Satsum snow foam, which is a hard foam. So basically I used this because I wanted to strip everything. Then once that was out of the way, I went with the Giant tar, especially at the bottom. Not that it needed it either, but as I was going to do a full paint correction, I wanted to make sure that I got everything out of the bodywork, because I didn't want those foreign particles to interfere with my polish stage. Once that was over and I rinsed the vehicle again, I went with Giant's iron. That was put all over the vehicle, so I used a ½ liter for the full car. I let it really work in. So I washed the vehicles inside, so obviously out of sunlight. And once that was done, I rinsed the car, and then I followed again with the snow from Carbon Collective, because I really wanted to get this stuff to work in. When it came to the shampoo itself, I like to work with Wowoo's Detailer shampoo. Why? Because it's an old school shampoo, there's no waxes in there, and obviously you don't need a wax when you're going to do a paint correction. The only real thing that I really changed from my washing phase was I actually changed the mitts. So as some of you maybe know, I have an internet site where I sell products, but I only sell products that I have tested. And I've been testing out the soft series mitt, and when I say soft, it's really soft. So thumbs up to Clean. So yeah, so that was kind of the wash phase. Obviously, wash. The car has been corrected. When I say corrected, initially, as the car was not showing a lot of defects, I was thinking of going with the fixer from CarPro. But I realized the fixer was causing more damage to the paint than there was originally. So I had to take a step back. I tried to soften the pads, but even though the product itself was too aggressive, so I went with Schweizer's Fine Cut here, and Schweizer say that you should use, well, recommended to use the yellow pad. The combination of the yellow pad and this didn't work for me either. but I knew that the product, because the vehicle was not severely damaged, I didn't want to go with an aggressive compound. I was pretty sure, and I was adamant that I could get it out with a very fine cut. So I kept the fine cut, but I actually changed the pad. I went with Schweizer's orange pad, which is the medium cut pad, and it actually gives a good finish as well. So this was applied, so I did the whole car, I corrected all the defects, and then everything was wiped down with an IPA, making sure that I got all the oils and greases out of the bodywork or the paint before I applied the graphene. So we'll go ahead now and apply the graphene. I'll kind of explain the process around that as well, because there are a couple of things that you need to take into consideration beforehand. So hey, let's get to it. Thanks. Right, so we've washed, decontaminated, polished the vehicle. Now we're ready to apply the graphene coating to the car. But before that, we must respect a couple of things, and that is your humidity and your temperature. And your temperature must not be too high, and neither should be your humidity. So it's better to have a controlled environment where you can control your humidity and your temperature. So a room that has air conditioning, and also at the same time, don't forget to wear a face mask, and also to have wear gloves as well. Graphene can either be your best friend or your worst enemy. What do I mean by that? Is graphene itself is very greasy, if I can say, and the buffing process can be a nightmare depending on the type of vehicle that you're working on. So I work with Art and Shine, so I've got two bottles in front of me. I got two bottles in my hand. So this is the graphene itself. As you can see, I've taken the sticker off just to show you that you know, the bottle is translucent, but the liquid inside is very black. So this is the graphene itself. And then I've got this other bottle here, which is the graphene leveling solution. So what is the graphene leveling solution? So the graphene leveling solution itself, it's got a bit of RGO inside, so the liquid is a bit grey. What this is going to do, this is going to help buff off the graphene. What do I mean by that? So depending on the vehicle that you're working on, and I'm going to be working on this Mercedes, and I know for a fact for having installed a lot of graphene on black Mercedes, the buffing process is a nightmare. So I will be applying the graphene leveling solution prior the graphene itself. So what I'll be doing, like any traditional graphene or ceramic, I'll be taking a zone of the car. I'll be applying the leveling solution. I'll be waiting between 15 and 25 seconds, and then I'll be buffing off, and then I will apply the graphene. What that will do is that the leveling solution will help ease take off the graphene. Now you can be in a situation where you've applied the graphene without the leveling, and you realize that the buffing becomes a nightmare. What you can do then is apply the leveling solution on top of the graphene, which will help then break or spread evenly the graphene over the bodywork. So what I like to use my Swading applicator blocks. They're soft. I have a better grip on them, so I'll be applying a couple of drops onto the block itself, and I'll be applying that to the zone that I'll be working on. And then at the same time, then I'll be having 2 microfibers, one for the initial buff, and then a second microfiber for the final wipe down. So rather than me talking about what I'll be doing, let's see this in action. So as I said initially, to help with the wipe off of the graphene, especially on these type of paints or these type of colors, it's best to go with the graphene leveler. So I've applied a bit of graphene leveler here, and I'm just going to apply it to the bodywork like so. It flashes relatively quickly. Art and Shine recommend within a room of a temperature around 20 degrees, you have to wait around 15 to 25 seconds, and then you can wipe it off. What's interesting here is that when you've applied the graphene leveler itself, you can automatically go behind and apply the graphene. So I'm going to let that flash just a little bit more. Then I'm going to take a clean microfiber buffing towel, and I'm going to take off the graphene leveler, which is a very straightforward and easy process to do. It doesn't, it dries relatively quickly. It's forgiving for over an hour, so if you leave it on there, you can still actually wipe it off, and there you go. So now we have an area of the vehicle that we can apply the graphene to. So now the leveler has set, we'll go and apply a bit of graphene to this as well. So we'll just make our pattern like this, and then it's not very conventional, and Art and Shine do recommend this as well, as once you've got an even coverage, you come and break the graphene in circular motions. This will help also with the wipe down of the graphene. So we'll let this sit for a couple of minutes, around 2 minutes. I generally leave it on. They say you can wipe it off after 30 seconds, but I noticed that if you try and wipe it off after 30 seconds, wiping becomes a nightmare. Just help the drying process here. As you can see, you start from the edges and you bring it in, and then you'll notice that there's a line here. So where I've stopped with the graphene, there's a line. So the objective is to try and eliminate that line as much as possible. Sometimes it's you can't get it from the first spot, first shot. So generally what you can do is that you can take your graphene again, and you just take the corners, and I find if you just take the edges and you wipe off pretty much immediately, you will eliminate any difference in color. So that's my first wipe down. Now we'll follow with a different type of microfiber for the final touch. And there you go. Normally, if you've done your work correctly, you should have a perfect leveling of the graphene.